All right, so every so often I see something so stupid it is warranted of its own video. And today we are talking about Adrien Salve, the Canadian drone pilot that decided to dive the National Monument in Washington, D.C. This is probably the most selfish video I have ever seen. This is probably the most reckless thing I've ever seen, and not because it could have endangered a person or hurt anybody. It's because of the repercussions that could come down on the FPV community. And you yourself, as a hobbyist, a professional, should be equally as mad and encourage this person to remove the video and honestly delete their account from the internet. Let's get started. What's good, everybody? Ken here. You're watching OriginaldoBo. Now, normally I don't give these types of videos any sort of oxygen. I really don't give them much limelight, but this person I want to see roasted, and not by you, the community. I want to see the FAA or even Department of Homeland Security step in and actually do something about this situation for this individual. I don't give a single fuck that this is a Canadian. It doesn't mean you can come into our country, disrespect our monuments, disrespect our laws, and get away with it. That doesn't mean it's okay. We don't go to Canada and dive down Justin Trudeau's house. We just things that we don't do. But this is a clear act of an individual that has zero regard for any rules or airspace here in the United States, because he has videos on his Instagram account doing the same thing in Las Vegas at the MSG Sphere, which is in restricted airspace. And yes, you can fly it if you have proper authorization, but my guess is he probably doesn't, simply because he found this SD card with this footage. Well, anyways, that was the post that he made in the Beginner to FPV group on Facebook, that he just found this SD card and it just happened to have some really amazing footage of somebody diving down the National Monument. Bullshit. Because I have a hard time finding my wallet when it's on my dresser and it's fucking redneck orange. I can't even find my wallet, let alone you found a microscopic micro SD card on the ground, just like that, with footage on there. Dude, you should probably play the lotto. The Powerball is calling your name. Irregardless, this is an incredibly reckless act on this individual, simply because Washington, D.C. is in a permanent TFR. It is incredibly difficult to gain authorization to launch a UAV in this airspace. It's not impossible, but it's not easy to do, and you have to have credentials and some sort of experience to be able to do this to begin with. And you have to have purpose. Just diving down the National Monument isn't going to be reason enough to gain authorization to fly in DC. But this individual took it upon himself to dive down this at night, and what I would say is not even the best of dives. He could have got a lot closer, he could have held on to it a little bit longer, but he didn't. What I'm curious about is how he went undetected to begin with. This could have been a small aircraft. It could have been a sub 250 gram drone. My guess is because it looks like the footage is relatively clean, it probably wasn't. Maybe it was a 3-inch drone. I'm not 100% sure, but whatever it was definitely GoPro footage for sure, because it was super clean. It wasn't like an O3 air unit. There would be a lot more grain if it was. So my guess is it was probably like a Hero. So the chances of it being a sub 250 gram drone is not likely. But irregardless, whether it's a 250 gram drone, whether it's a tiny little Whoop, DC's rules are rules. You cannot fly there, period. If you want to fly in your house or something, sure, go for it, knock yourself out. But if you're in the airspace, the open airspace, or protected monuments like that, you should not be doing this. And he's been posting all sorts of things from Las Vegas, all around the country, just showing a complete and utter disregard for the airspace and rules here in the United States. And I know you may sound like, hey, Ken, you sound like an absolute Karen. It's not about being a Karen. It's about protecting the hobby and not making it any more difficult than it already is. Here in the United States, we are facing remote ID that's going to be fully and firmly active in the next couple of months. And that's going to track any and all aircrafts. And right now, FPV is sort of that outlier because there's no real way to enforce it. But when situations like this occur, it displays and shows that there are loopholes that could be exploited. And it's not only going to make it harder for you as a hobbyist, but it's also going to make it harder for the retailers that pride themselves on providing these products to us that consume them and build these aircrafts. Now, this particular person is a Canadian drone pilot, or at least that's what he portrays himself as on Instagram. Whether or not he's actually Canadian or resides here in the United States, it's irregardless. It does not matter. I digress, because the rules still apply to you whether you are a resident or not a resident. And because you just reside over in Canada, if that is the case, Department of Homeland Security and the FAA could put together a joint investigation with the Canadian government to figure out who you are and how to get you back here so you can face civil penalties or possibly even criminal. I would imagine, because it is in the DC airspace, that it would be criminal. Now, let's talk about the post itself, because I left him some pretty, I would say, harsh comments on that post, because I just think it's absolutely incredibly selfish of him with the actions that he performed in this video. It's just stupid. But what's more surprising is reading people that normally would be like, fuck the FAA or F this, basically urging him as well that he needs to delete this and that this was a stupid thing to do, which I'm proud of the FPV community, because what this shows me is under all that sort of badassery, the vast majority of people that build FPV, they understand the rules. They're not above the rules. They know things. They're smart about it, and they don't do stupid shit like this. They respect the hobby for everybody as a collective whole, and they don't put one above another. And this person just did something stupid and put one flight above everybody else and could potentially make things much harder. So here's what I'm encouraging you to do. I'm not telling you to harass Adrian. I'm telling you to give him some guidance and tell him that he should pull this down and he needs to correct his actions in the future. He needs to be a better pilot. He needs to be a better representative of the community as a collective whole. But chances are, what I'm hoping happens of this video is that the FAA sees this, or at the very least, the Department of Homeland Security sees this and has a very, very stern, serious conversation with this person, and also lays down what would happen to anybody else that does something similar, because a lot of pilots are going to get drones for the very first time on December 25th that have no experience, or they have experience, but they don't know a lot about the rules, and they could potentially go out and do something stupid. So when you see something like this, instead of shielding it and not talking about it so somebody knows that the repercussions of doing something as stupid as this could result in serious consequences is equally as important. I'm not telling you guys to gang up on this person, but what I am telling you to do is encourage him from one person of the community to take that video down, to do the right thing, stop being stupid, stop being selfish. You're not that great of a pilot. The footage looks like shit. It was a wasted opportunity on a terrible shot that didn't need to happen. That's all I'm saying. All right. Hopefully you found this interesting. Please don't be this stupid. Don't be this pilot. And as always, stay original.
I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I want the money, the power, respect.